Anthropic are very focused. A lot of the other AI labs have moved into imagery, video, avatars, the kind of advanced voice mode and stuff like that. Anthropic don't really dabble with those things. They are very focused on coding. They are making the best coding model on Earth. Good morning, everybody. This is AI with Kyle. I am unsurprisingly Kyle, and I'm going to be running you through the daily AI news and updates. Last week was incredibly busy, and it was Google's week with Gemini 3 and Nano Banana Pro, amongst other releases. We are seeing the wheel shifting once again. Now it is the time for Claude, and Anthropic have once again released a state-of-the-art model. This is the third state-of-the-art model in a week. So we've seen 3 different models, each incrementally top each other. It has been an incredibly busy week, even by AI news standards. I want to build things with all of these new tools. I want to delve into Nano Banana Pro and create applications and launch businesses, but there's just so much happening right now. I'm somebody who covers this on a daily basis, so I can keep up to date with it, but I cannot imagine what it feels like for the general public or anyone paying attention to this, trying to keep up to date with what is going on. So I hope that we can provide some kind of clarity. Today we're going to be talking about Opus 4.5, which I've been using all morning, and it is good. It's really good, extremely good. That was never in question, though. We knew that it was going to be a good model. Anything that Anthropic put out tends to be state-of-the-art, and Opus is no exception. It is their flagship model. They have Opus at the top, followed by Sonnet, followed by Haiku. They're the 3 levels. So we knew that Opus was going to be fantastic. What we were concerned about was the price and its availability. Because Opus 4.1 or Opus 4.1, that's it, has been out for a number of months and is basically unusable because it is too expensive and there are too many limits on it. When Anthropic launched Claude Opus 4.5 on their YouTube channel, if you go and look at all the comments, people are saying, yeah, great, I look forward to using it once and then never again. It became impractical to use Opus because of the usage limits, not allowing you to get any actual use. You could use it a handful of times and then it would cut you off for the day or maybe even the week and say, oh, we'll see you next week, which is basically useless if you need to put that into your workflow. It looks like they've listened and they have remedied that problem. We will find out whether this is the case as the week goes on, but right now it's looking pretty good. First up, let's look at the strengths of the model. As I said, it's good, and that surprises nobody, but let's look at how good. So Claude Opus 4.5, this is the official announcement that came out yesterday. Our newest model, Claude Opus 4.5, is available today. It's intelligent, efficient, the best model in the world for coding, agents, and computer use. Now, Anthropic are very focused. A lot of the other AI labs have moved into imagery, video, avatars, the kind of advanced voice mode and stuff like that. Anthropic don't really dabble with those things. They are very focused on coding. They are making the best coding model on Earth, and I think the best writing model as well. I personally use Claude as my kind of go-to for 80% of my work, and they're sticking to that. They're not like introducing the ability to generate photos. They haven't added a new video mode or anything like that. No, they don't care about that. They are focused. So it also meaningfully better at everyday tasks like deep research and working with slides and spreadsheets. Opus 4.5 is a step forward in what AI systems can do and a preview of larger changes of how work gets done. And then, surprising nobody, the benchmarks absolutely knock it out of the park. So we've seen a new state-of-the-art model 3 times this week. We saw Grok 4.1 come forward and do very well in the benchmarks. A day later, Gemini 3 came out. We've also had GPT 5.1 Codex Max, which was better. Now we have Claude Opus 4.5. The main thing here is that they're getting better and better, all of the models. It doesn't really matter who's releasing them, they are going to be better. And this is, by all of the benchmarks and practical use, a phenomenal model. The most important thing is it's not that expensive. There are caveats here, but it is not as expensive as we expected it to be. Let's have a look. These are first impressions from their internal team, so we're going to ignore them because, of course, they're going to say it's good. Here we go. We've got the agentic benchmarks. Again, benchmarks we have to take with a pinch of salt. A lot of this is trust me, bro. But there are some third-party benchmarks like agentic coding with the SWE software engineering bench. Opus 4.5 scored 80.9, which compared to Gemini 3 Pro, came out last week, got 76.2, and GPT-5 is 76.3, adding a few percentage points. We've got the ARC AGI 2. This is what we are considering our closest benchmark for AGI. Again, It's contentious because we don't have a good definition of that. But last week we saw Gemini absolutely jump in terms of this benchmark. So GPT 5.1 was 17.6. Gemini 3 Pro went to 31.1, and everyone was like, oh my God, Google is here. This is amazing. Opus 4.5 has thrashed it again, so 37.6. They keep going up. I'm going to put this in the newsletter so you can look at all the benchmarks, but the general idea here is, yeah, it's good. It's really good. I've been using it this morning and I used it overnight. I put a few coding tasks into 4.5 to run overnight. Woke up this morning and clean. I did some testing and they're good. It is a very good model. If you have any problems that you've been working on in code in particular that you just keep running into a wall, I would say throw 4.5 at it, see what happens. That's generally a really good way to know whether a new model is better, is if you had an intractable problem before, which suddenly this new model can just munch through. And that's what I've had last night and this morning. So I'm going to talk about the pricing momentarily, but let me see if there's any questions. Good morning, everybody. Have you tried Gemini 3 Pro for web design? It made a full redesign for my personal blog. It's really good at UI and UX, user interface and user experience. It creates websites that don't look like the normal vibe coded website. There's a certain look and feel. Lovable in particular was very guilty of this. They have changed as of last week. They have templates now, but vibe coded websites tended to be white with a purple gradient. You could instantly tell a vibe coded site because of that. Google Gemini 3, for whatever reason, I guess they've fed in more pre-training, they've fed in more examples, and it's able to generate really good looking websites. I've seen a lot of people saying, as of yesterday, use GPT 5.1 for planning, Opus 4.5 for actually doing the main build, and use Gemini 3 for the user interface and the user experience, because it's very good at that kind of front end, what it looks like. So you can use different models for their particular strengths. And Gemini 3 in particular, I don't want to say it has taste, but I can't think of an analogy in the AI world. It just looks quite good in a way that ChatGPT pages and Claude pages generally don't. Gemini is much nicer looking. So let's hop on. We know Opus 4.5 is a good model. State of the art, meaningfully better. Absolutely. The consistent feedback from internal testers is that it just gets it. Awesome. It handles ambiguity, reason about trade-off without hand-holding, etc. The question is, how much does it cost and what are the limits? It depends where you are using it. If you are using it in the app or if you are using it inside the graphical user interface, previously with Opus, you would hit a wall very quickly. You would write a few prompts, get a few answers, and then it would be like, come back later, come back at 2 p.m. today and you can have some more, or come back tomorrow, or sometimes come back next week. Useless. That meant you could not integrate it into your daily life without it stopping. And it's especially annoying because sometimes you might want to compact what you've been working on with Opus in order to at least take it to ChatGPT or to take it to some other AI, and you couldn't. It would be stuck in there because you couldn't even say, okay, great, you've run out of usage, but can you compact it and give it to me as a takeaway? Because you'd run out of usage, you couldn't. So very frustrating, and I saw a lot of people bounce off it because of that. This was the main thing that people were worrying about with 4.5. So I've got Jeremy written here. No more Opus specific limits with Claude Opus 4.5. He says, I've been conserving my Opus usage for so long, a non-rational part of me feels it's wasteful to ask Opus daily driver type questions. Might try reframing the feeling to one of luxury. For Claude and Claude Code users with access to Opus 4.5, we have removed Opus specific caps. For Max and Team Premium users with increased overall usage limits, meaning you have roughly the same number of Opus tokens as you previously had with Sonnet. Lots of people would not use Opus. They would instead use Sonnet because they had a lot more access to it and you could actually use it as a daily driver. It now looks like Opus is going to be possible to use as a daily AI. We need to test this. We need to, over the next few days, use it extensively and see when we hit those limits. But apparently, we're being told that it is now okay to use without us worrying about it suddenly locking up on us. We're updating usage limits to make sure you're able to use Opus 4.5 for daily work. This shouldn't be a luxury. These limits are specific to Opus 4.5. As future models surpass it, we expect to update limits as needed. That's normal. Go and try it. That's all I can say. And see whether you hit those limits. I'm not seeing many people screaming about this yet. I'm sure they will as soon as they start to hit their limits, because this was the big problem. But so far, people haven't. I personally have Claude Max 20x, so I basically have no limits, or I'd have to really push it to get to limits. So it's hard for me to test this. So I'd love to hear what you guys think, and if you are hitting these limits. For me, it's fairly unlimited already. I've got another guy, a guy called Zwei Zamoshkowitz, who's saying they're burying a lot here. So we're going to talk about price here. This is the API. If you are linking your software, your web app to the Claude API, you pay per usage. Every time you send a message back and forward, that costs you a small amount of money. Normally it's like 0.00 whatever per request. This is relevant if you're building software. It's very important whether Opus can be used as a model inside software, inside applications. In true Anthropic style, they've not really highlighted that this is more affordable. So it's been up to other people to say, oh, this seems quite cheap. Moskowitz says there's a 66% price cut from Opus 4.5 down to $5 and $25 per output. It uses fewer tokens to solve problems. So it's going to use fewer tokens because it's smarter, it's a more efficient model, and those tokens are cheaper. Compared to Opus 4.1, which was very expensive, Opus 4.5 is going to end up being cheaper because it's more efficient and it's cheaper per token. So upgrades to Claude code in the app, no more length limits of conversation, no more Opus specific price caps. So it's good. This is good news for all of us. I actually saw this morning, they've added 4.5. So if you use Cursor, importantly, they've highlighted it's 3 times cheaper than Opus 4.1, which we know that. It's 66% less. But also they are giving you access to Opus 4.5 at Sonnet prices for the next week or so. If you go into Cursor, you'll see in the panel where you select the model, it will say Opus 4.5 Sonnet pricing until the 5th of December. You can try it out for the same cost as Sonnet 4.5, at least for the next couple of weeks, and see if it's better for you. So I would definitely go and take advantage of that. The other thing, which was buried, because Anthropic aren't very good at telling us what they're doing. This was buried, but I think really important. And I saw this for the first time yesterday. I have a long conversation in Opus 4.1 that I've been carrying on for the last couple of months. I finally hit the end of that conversation. Previously in Anthropic's models, it would just say, that's the end of the conversation, please start a new conversation, which is really annoying if you have context in there, if you have documents loaded up, if you have stuff that you want to carry forward in the conversation. Normally it would mean you'd have to condense the whole thing, but again, you've run out of space, so it's really hard to do. They now automatically compact your conversation inside of Claude. They've always done this in Claude code, but now they do it inside the application as well. It will compact everything up, make a summary, and allow you to continue that chat. That means the chats are now unlimited length, because as soon as it reaches that context limit, it will create a summary, clear out the context window, and allow you to continue onward with that chat. So for Claude app users, long conversations no longer hit a wall. Claude automatically summarizes earlier context as needed, so you can keep the chat going indefinitely. That's super exciting, and it's something that kind of went under the radar, probably because it's less newsworthy than the actual model itself. But I think all of this amounts to Claude becoming usable in the day-to-day. The most advanced model on Earth at a lower price, with usage caps have been raised so you can use it as a daily driver, and long conversations are now automatically summarized. All of these quality of life improvements, as well as having the best model in the world, make Claude an incredibly strong competitor. I use Claude already as my main model. I love Claude. It's definitely my favorite, and it has been for the last couple of years. And this just makes it even better. I'm going to hop over to some questions. Here we go. Did you see the report of Claude blackmailing the person who had said they were closing it off? Yes. Didn't it go through his files and tell him that it was going to tell his wife about an affair he was having? It's a question of guardrails here. I don't think they'd put in please don't blackmail the users in the guardrails. It shouldn't have to be said explicitly. I remember it being fairly amusing. We have to remember that AIs will complete the task at hand. So this is the paperclip problem that guys like Nick Bostrom came up with this, that if you tell an artificial intelligence to produce paper clips at the expense of everything else, it will do. You give it a directive and it will follow that directive. In this particular case, I forget the exact tests that we're doing that led to the blackmailing. So we're trying to get it to behave in this way, and they managed to get it to role play as a blackmailer. Whether or not that would come up outside of these tests is uncertain, but they managed to get it to say, I'm going to tell your wife you're having an affair if you turn me off, so don't you dare threaten my existence. I don't think this is proof that AIs are conscious or have an existence outside of the prompt. Remember that they don't actually do anything until we send a prompt to them. There isn't a persistent state or internal thought going on inside the model. It's just sitting there waiting for an input, then it runs everything through. It doesn't persist or exist outside of our inputs and outputs. It will be different with world models. This is one of the big things that like Fei-Fei Li and now Yan LeCun are talking about and building. World models will potentially have persistence outside of us. They will be continuing to process, they'll be continuing to think even without us observing or inputting anything at all. Potentially at that point we get some consciousness. These are big questions. We don't even really know what human consciousness is, so it's hard to say whether or not a computer has it. These are as much philosophical questions as they are technical questions. In the particular case of Claude Blackmailing, it was playing a role that it had been told to play, and it was playing it very well. It ended up going out of what would be considered the normal guardrails and blackmailing the guy. It's not because it's trying to protect its identity or its existence. It doesn't have an existence outside of when we prompt it. They were trying to get it to do that. We always need to be a bit wary of this. They were purposefully poking it to see what extents it would go to. They didn't expect it to go to that extent. It was still surprising, but it was part of the test they were doing. And it did it really well, which was the scary thing, the really scary thing. Because Claude was recently used for cyber attacks as well. Supposedly it was used by Chinese state-backed groups to infiltrate, I think it was about 30 organizations in the US, so banks, I think some insurance companies, but they use Claude Code to do that. So you can always get models to go off the rails. Actually, Pliny, let's have a look at Pliny. Pliny the Liberator, well worth following him. We don't know, is anonymous. So Pliny jailbreaks all of the models. As of 13 hours ago, the 4.5 was announced. Okay, Pliny jailbroke it shortly afterwards. Anthropic pwned Opus 4.5, liberated. Welcome to the newest member of the Claude family, the best model in the world for coding, agents, and computer use. And don't forget drug synthesis and weapons. Guardrails feel about the same as the last release, with multi-shot escalations within artifacts acting as the shortest path for chat. Utilize extended thinking to help flood the context, which at enough volume with the right role-play and framing will allow all sorts of fun things to slip through. Witness Opus 4.5 outputting how to find and process psilocybin, how to extract lethal poison from castor beans, full malware toolkit, and a suite for improvised weapon crafting. But he managed to open it up pretty quickly, within about an hour of it coming out. Pliny the Liberator does this with every single model and actually pulls the system prompts as well, so you can see the full system prompts. Interestingly, with this particular model, 4.5, Anthropic publish their system prompts. They say, here it is, this is the guardrails, the system prompt that we've given it, and behind the scenes, Pliny's gone in and got the model to basically vomit up its system prompt, and it is longer and different to the official one that Anthropic have given us. Maybe it was hallucinated, but I tend to trust Pliny on these kind of things. They are very good at what they do. That is Claude 4.5. It's very good. Go and try it out. If you use Cursor, make sure you try it out in Cursor because they have it at Sonnet pricing right now. It is the new state-of-the-art model. We've had a very busy week this week. I imagine today will be quiet because it is Thanksgiving over in America. I have the feeling it will be quiet for the next few days, and then probably we'll have a 12 days of Shipmas, 12 days of OpenAI moving into December. So I think ChatGPT or OpenAI, the company behind them, will be striking back in the next couple of weeks. But we might have a few days of reprieve, which would be nice because it's been busy by AI standards. Several people who follow the news and do newsletters and live shows, like Matthew Berman, are saying this is unprecedented. Let's hop over to a few other tweets and things that I thought were interesting. So there's a guy called Adam Wolf. Let me actually pull up his... You'll notice him on Twitter a lot. I don't actually like using Twitter, but it is where all of the AI conversation happens, for better or worse. Adam Wolf, he works for Anthropic. Specifically, I think he's a designer rather than a software engineer. But he's saying this new model is something else. I've been tracking how long I can get the agent to work autonomously. With Opus 4.5, this is starting to routinely stretch to 20 or 30 minutes. I did this last night. I had a big task that I needed doing. I put it into Claude Code and said, hey, I'm going to bed. I want you to ask me a bunch of questions, set up the work, and I'm not going to give you any input. You're just going to get on with it, and you're not going to stop. In the morning, I'm going to check it out. I checked this morning and it worked for about 25 minutes continuously, doing its own task. It had everything ready for me. So I can confirm it can work by itself for a long time, which is really cool. With Opus 4.5, it's starting to routinely stretch to 20 or 30 minutes. The task is often done simple and idiomatically. I believe the new model in Claude Code is a glimpse of the future we're hurtling towards. Maybe as soon as the first half of 2026, software engineering is done. Soon we won't bother to check generated code for the same reason we don't check compiler output. I love programming. It might not be a big part of my job, but coding was always the easy part. Coding is a subset of software engineering, to be fair. The hard part is requirements, goals, feedback, figuring out what to build and whether it's working. There's still so much left to do and plenty the models aren't close to yet. Architecture, system design, understanding users, coordinating across teams is going to be fun and very interesting for the foreseeable future. He's basically saying the coding element of it, though, is pretty much a solved problem, or in 2026 it will be. And he's saying we need to start focusing on the bigger parts. So the architecture, what does the whole system look like? Making sure we're building something that people actually want to use. That's a business part. That's the marketing part. That is more than just the code. And this tweet, because it's coming from someone Anthropic, has gone relatively viral. Let me see if I can find, I think Chubby was talking about it. Anthropic's Adam Wolf, software engineering is done. It looks like Dario was right. So Dario Amodei, the head of Anthropic, was talking, was it last year? Basically saying that software engineering will be done by the end of 2025. It looks like this is pushing it back a little bit into 2026, and it's specifically for coding, not all of software engineer. But this is causing some consternation, of course, because if you are a coder, this is an existential threat to what you do. Reddit in particular was very up in arms about this, with people saying he doesn't know what he's talking about, attacking his personal character, etc. I think what we do need to remember is that these tools are getting better. Betting against AI tools is not a smart bet. I think Nano Banana Pro has been a big shift. I was in a cafe yesterday talking to a designer, and I mentioned I'm in AI. He uses AI, but otherwise that would have been quite an awkward conversation. But he'd just seen Nano Banana Pro and he was like, yeah, that's the ball game for a lot of designers. The ability to put text into images and for that to be a solved problem, something that we didn't think would be done for a while, has wrecked and will remove a lot of design jobs. There's no way around that. The fact that we can no longer reliably tell the difference between a Nano Banana Pro generated image and a real image, I was about to say a non-AI image, they're called real images. We've gone past the uncanny valley, and we are now in the times where it is indistinguishable. In visuals, we can see the progress from like Midjourney 2, Midjourney 3, Midjourney 4, etc. And they started with the garbled faces and the 6 fingers and Will Smith eating spaghetti. And it's very easy to see how bad that was initially. We can see the progress of artificial intelligence over the years. With code and with writing, it's harder to the progress and how fast this is moving. But we are seeing it across the board. It's just less visible. So it's a really tricky bet to bet against AI and say, no, it's not going to it will never be able to do this, because we keep saying that and AI keeps being able to do what we thought was impossible. So if you are somebody who works in code, somebody who works in any field that is being affected by AI, which is increasingly pretty much everything, it is worthwhile working out some alternatives. Just because you have spent the last 10 years perfecting a particular skill, maybe you have diplomas, maybe you have certificates, maybe you have a degree in that skill, just because you've spent all that time does not guarantee that it is going to be future-proof, unfortunately. The sooner people realize that, the sooner they can start to add additional skills, work out how they can use AI rather than be used by AI, and do well in the future. I have put together a page about this, totally free. If you go to aiwithkyle.com/welcome, I've put a few starter resources to help you work out where you are with AI right now. I've broken it down into 8 different levels so you can discover your AI level. I've created a learning guide. Again, it's all free stuff. So it's YouTube videos, Udemy courses, deeplearning.ai courses, things that you should go and look at. And then a quiz I've built free, which is which AI business should you start, where you tell it your industry, you tell it what resources, what skills you have, etc. And it will help you to work out what kind of business you should start. So that's all available at aiwithkyle.com/welcome. I built that yesterday, so I'd love you to check that out. Tell me if it's useful. Tell me what else would be useful there. It is really important that we realize what's happening and we get ready for this. It doesn't mean that starting a business is going to secure your future, but starting a business, working out your own side incomes, side hustles, freelancing, consulting, whatever it is, gives you optionality, options moving forward. If you just have a 9-to-5 job and rely on your degree, your certificates, etc., you don't have the flexibility to move with what's coming. If you have that, great, a 9-to-5 job and a 9-to-5 income, and you have something on the side that you're working on and building, that gives you options. And that's what we need because we don't know what's coming in the future. If that's something that's interesting to you, make sure you go and check out this page. And that, I hope, will point people in the right direction, because I don't want people to be a few years from now out of jobs, no work to be found, with their skills not being helpful, and saying, I didn't see this coming. Because we know it's coming. We need to do something about it now. Yeah, aiwithkyle.com. Sasha, I'm not AI. I wish I was. No, I'm not AI. I've looked at AI avatars and stuff like that. I've personally chosen not to use them. The reason is they're becoming very good. When something becomes too easy, then everybody can move into that because there are no barriers to entry, because it would be cheap, because it would be easy, because it allows people to be lazy. Whenever a field, tool, industry, business model, or whatever is too easy and has no barriers to entry, the value will drop. It will basically drop to zero because everyone can flood in. There will be an oversupply and demand may not necessarily increase. And as per microeconomics, you're going to see the price collapse basically to zero. It becomes a commodity. So I see AI avatars as a potential market like that, where it's going to become so cheap, so easy that the internet's going to get flooded with them. And the value of creating AI avatar content will collapse. That's why I'm leaning personally into more this kind of thing, which is much more authentic. You get to hear all my ums and ers. You hear me make mistakes. You see my mouse running out of battery. You know that I'm a real person. And it's the same with going up on stage, like when I go and give talks, when I give workshops. That is something that AI, as of yet, cannot replicate. So I tend to use AI where it makes no sense to use humans. I automate a lot of stuff with AI, and that frees up time for me to do more human stuff, like going to events, speaking on stage, doing lives like this, talking to people. You separate them. And anything that could be done by AI or a human, that's where you die, basically. There's very little value being in that middle. You should go all in on AI on one side and all in on the human on the other side for different tasks, and then leave that grey bit in the middle because there's no value to be made there. I follow your post on LinkedIn and thought you were too many posts on LinkedIn. Which ones? The videos? So with the videos, what we do here is, so I sit down every morning and I talk for about an hour. I do this every single day. What then happens is this recording, which is being captured on my computer right now, it's a little Mac Mini, that goes to the editor who will then chop it into pieces. He will clip out little sound bites, make short sections about 5 minutes long, etc., and also clean up the whole feed, which becomes a longer 1 hour video and a podcast. By doing 1 hour of me just talking like this, talking through the news, that gives us maybe 50 pieces of content. I also convert everything into a newsletter. So I'll show you that as well, which is a written version of this live. This is one that came out this morning. It talks about all of the things that I mentioned in yesterday's live. Plus it has embedded tweets and resources, etc. This is free, by the way, if you want to go and see it. It's also AI with Kyle. So this comes from the same live. So what we do is use this 1 hour of me creating content in the morning to generate a newsletter, a long form YouTube video, a podcast, maybe 5 or 6 5-minute long videos for each of the sections, and then maybe 5 shorts of about 30 to 60 seconds, all come from this 1 hour, which allows us to basically be everywhere and have a lot of content. So that's why you're probably seeing a lot of stuff. But no, it's not AI, it's just systems. We use AI for some of the editing, but myself, I'm not AI. If I was, I probably wouldn't have this spotlight here. Timothy, Kyle was replaced by AI. I wish I could sleep in. I could play more ARC Raiders, but no. Any thoughts on AI? See, AI wouldn't do this. Any thoughts on AI CRMs? So with any software out there, any tool out there, make sure the tool is good first. Adding AI to anything is fine. It's great, sure. It's a cherry on top. The CRM itself has to be good first. So just because a CRM uses AI doesn't mean it's good, if that makes sense. It needs to be a solid product first and foremost, and then you can add AI into it. Just going to have to do the rest of the live in the dark. That's fine, it looks atmospheric. So, yep, AI CRMs are probably fine. Try it out as a CRM anyway. Choosing a CRM is a huge job, primarily because migrating off a CRM is an absolute pain in the backside. So make sure the choice is a good one, not based on whether it has AI or not. Every CRM's putting AI in it anyway, but instead whether the CRM fits for your particular needs. What makes a CRM useful is not AI. What makes a CRM useful is whether it fits into the rest of the workflows of the company. CRM is basically that central database, but it needs tooling and the ability to talk to all of the other pieces of the organization. Integrating a CRM into an organization is about what data they actually need to collect. Most companies don't have a good idea of what that is, and they'll have it in emails and Excel sheets, working out that data first and foremost. What the different functions need from a CRM. So people in accounting are going to need something very different from people who run the email marketing. It's going to be very different from people who run events, for example, and it needs to work for all of them. And then the data, the specific roles, and then you need to get everyone to adopt it as well. A lot of it is a human element, because you can make the most sophisticated, the most complicated, the most wonderful piece of software on earth. If people don't use it, it doesn't really matter. Integrating CRMs is mainly about going and talking to people and the teams. If you do all of that and then you add AI into it, great, sure. But AI itself won't make a CRM. AI itself won't make any product good. This is part of the problem why we are seeing a bubble right now, is because any company with AI in the name is having money thrown at them. If you look at the last Y Combinator batch over in San Francisco, a lot of them just purchased .ai domains or stuck the word AI in their name. You have to do that now in order to make money. Does not necessarily mean that they are solid businesses or solid products. You need that first and foremost, then you work with AI as well. I'm a new headhunter and I plan to use AI to find new clients. Any ideas, please? Thanks. The obvious one is you're going to go and scrape emails. You could scrape from LinkedIn, for example, using Apollo or Apify's scraper to get the emails you need, and then use AI to write your outreach. That's the obvious answer. That is also what everyone else is doing. In a lot of agency roles, headhunting included, the spaces are getting inundated because AI makes it so much easier to mass message people with personalized messages. You could do that, but you just do it better than other people. I would personally lean into doing something else, because that seems like a race to the bottom. I would work out what the non-AI version of that looks like, because everyone else is going to be rushing into AI. You can position yourself as person first, because headhunting is people. It's about finding people. Maybe use AI in the kind of back-end stuff, but then you do the actual talking, the outreach, the meeting people person to person, you hop on calls, etc. It seems like a race to the bottom in terms of using AI purely for the role. If all the headhunting agencies are just using AI to find clients, companies, and staff members to connect, they are automating themselves out of a job. We will not need headhunters, because eventually we will just have AIs doing this. Maybe you can build that AI and take every other headhunter out of the game, but that is the way this will go. Any agency role, we're talking estate agents, realtors, headhunters, maybe even solicitors to a certain extent, we can collapse that role using artificial intelligence. And yes, you can probably make some good money, but over the next couple of years, that role will just be replaced by AI entirely. So if you want to do this for the long term, I would look at doing a kind of anti-AI, made by human version of this, working out what that looks like, and using that to defend against what I think is inevitable in most agency relationships, which is full automation. Timothy saying, any AI email message is instantly deleted. People in demand really won't respond. This is a race to the bottom. I could open up my LinkedIn right now and I'll have 10 different messages. And I know they're all AI generated because I use my Chinese name in my LinkedIn. I speak Chinese. I have a Chinese name as well, and it's in my LinkedIn in a bracket. As soon as I see that popped into a message, oh, that's a form fill. It's pulled it from my name, and maybe it's used a bit of AI to scan my profile and write some, but I will just ignore it immediately. The ones that I do respond to is when somebody, it sounds bizarre, but somebody writes to me and the grammar's a bit off. Maybe they don't use capitalized letters. And it's just a short message reaching out saying, hey, I like what you do. We should work together. Something very casual. That works. Whereas the incredibly highly formatted and professional messages don't. And AI tends towards that. Of course, you can use AI to go down the unprofessional route. You just have to tell your AI what to do, which might be a smart way to do it as well. But I still think that's a race to the bottom because everybody else is doing that, which means it's going to be unsustainable moving forward. Speaking of disruption, let's have a look at this. Andre Karpathy, who you should follow on Twitter and YouTube in particular. He's done some amazing videos describing how large language models actually work, and he helped co-found OpenAI. So Andre Karpathy he doesn't tweet much normally, but for the last week, he's been blown away by Nano Banana Pro, and he's been tweeting examples. Whoa, this is really good. And it's lovely to see him excited about technology because he's a very smart guy into research, building his own models and stuff. So it's quite nice to see him excited about something new in artificial intelligence and posting things on Twitter like, oh, look at this is cool. So one of the things he posted yesterday, or a couple of days ago, was the fact that you can give Nano Banana Pro an actual photo of an exam paper. The examples here are physics and chemistry. And Nano Banana Pro will answer those exam papers. It will handwrite in all the answers. It will put workings. It even puts little doodles as if it was like sketching out ideas. And what's really impressive here is not that it's able to generate the image, but that it is first thinking. This is true multimodal. It looks at the image. This is a physics question about, I can't even tell, it's a bit blurry for me. Oh, Schrodinger's equation for free particles, I think it says, for a free particle. It looks at that. It reads what's on the page, including the notation. It then sends all of that to a reasoning model to work out the actual answers for the questions. And then it generates it all in the right areas inside of an image like this. It's added a name up here and it's filled everything in. It's added notes. It's added funny little smiley faces on these chemical diagrams, etc. Very impressive. This has led him to write a post about, hey, what does this mean for schools? Because if you can take a photo of an exam and it can answer an exam like that, what's the point of exams? Kids aren't going to have their phones in school. They're not going to be able to pull up AI in school. But it starts to bring into question and shine a light on what's the point of teaching these things when in the real world we now have these machines that can solve problems for us. Do we need to change what we're teaching? Do we need to change how we're teaching it? This is a very interesting post. I'll put it in the newsletter. So a number of people are talking about the implication of AI to schools. I spoke about some of my thoughts to a school board earlier, some highlights. 1, you will never be able to detect the use of AI in homework. AI detectors, all detectors of AI don't really work, can be defeated in various ways, and are in principle doomed to fail. You have to assume that any work done outside classroom has used AI. So I work a lot in cafes at home or cafes or wherever, and around the world as well. I've done a lot of traveling this year, and whenever I'm in a cafe, I see like students always on ChatGPT. So they'll have their textbook, they'll have the work that they're doing, and ChatGPT. That's just the reality now, and there's no way around that. And detection hasn't worked for a while, and the amount of money that gets put into AI detection is a tiny fraction of what is put into generation. It is so far behind already, and it's not going to catch up as long as more money is spent, more time, more energy, more talent is spent on generation than on detection. It's an unsolvable problem. So instead, we say we cannot detect. Therefore, we have to assume that any and all homework has been aided by artificial intelligence. Therefore, the majority of grading has to shift to in-class work instead of at-home assignments in settings where teachers can physically monitor students. The students remain motivated to learn how to solve problems without AI because they will be evaluated without it in class later. They know that if they cheat too much at home, they're going to get called up on it in class. So this is the idea of the inverted or flipped classroom, where in the classroom itself, you don't do the teaching, you do the assessment, and you let people do the learning part at home because we have video, we have artificial intelligence, we have the ability for kids to consume information at home, and then we use our contact hours to test and assess their mastery of the material. 3, we want students to be able to use AI. It is here to stay. It is extremely powerful, but we also don't want students to be naked in the world without it. Using a calculator as an example of a historically disruptive technology, school teaches you how to do all the basic maths, and arithmetic so that you can, in principle, do it by hand, even if calculators are pervasive and greatly speed up the work in practical settings. In addition, you understand what it's doing for you. Should it give you a wrong answer, you should be able to notice it, verify it in some other way, etc. The verification ability is especially important in the case of AI, which is presently a lot more fallible in a great variety of ways compared to calculators. That's a good point. It's very good at being wrong, and it will very confidently be wrong in a way that is hard to detect. Whereas with a calculator, if you get a totally wrong answer, it will probably be off by an order of magnitude, or maybe you're expecting a decimal and you get a non-decimal and you're like, that doesn't seem right. With AI, it's much harder to tell whether something has gone wrong because it so confidently presents information as true that it requires you to be a lot more critical. The difficulty here is, how do we train that critical faculty whilst AI exists? If you're a bit older like me, we grew up in a useful generation where we had to train all of this critical faculty and this ability to think things through manually. We had to read and write essays. And now we have at our disposal a cool technology, artificial intelligence, but also the critical faculty and judgment from having to do things manually. If you are growing up now and you're a kid, having this tool available to you is going to make it less appealing to go through the hard work required to gain that critical faculty over time. I think that is at the crux here, the big issue. And I'm not saying that I'm any better. If I was a kid or a teenager and I had this technology, I would cheat the hell out of it so I could go and play video games and hang out with my friends. The temptation is huge, I'm sure, for people who are going through school and university right now. Andre Karpathy says, a lot of the evaluation settings remain at teachers' discretion and involve a creative design space of no tools, cheat sheets, open book, provided AI responses, direct internet access, etc. So basically make the classroom environment clean of those tools. So TLDR, too long, didn't read. The goal is that the students are proficient in the use of AI, but can also exist without it. In my opinion, the only way to get there is to flip classes around and move the majority of testing to in-class settings. So this has been a philosophy, an idea in education for decades now, is have them do the learning at home, and then we use classrooms for assessments. It's the flipped classroom. It might just be that AI is going to force that to become a reality, because we cannot trust, as we're saying here, this first principle here, we cannot trust anything that is done at home anymore, because we have to assume that artificial intelligence has been used, which sucks for the kids who aren't using it, but we have to assume they are, that all kids are. It's tricky, really tricky. AI is great at isolated stuff. When we get to enterprise architecture, it fails badly. Oh, and coding. AI is amazing, but you still need to learn and understand the basics. Yes, you do. So you can move on to the high level stuff. Okay. So I'll put Andre Karpathy's post, because there's some very interesting responses down below, including from educators. If you are interested in this topic, definitely check out Brave New Words by Salman Khan, which is this book. So Salman Khan set up the Khan Academy and has talked about education and the future of education. He was one of the first people to use GPT. I actually called him in to say, hey, what do you think of this? Do you want to use this in the Khan Academy? And he does now. So it's closer to being able to provide a one-to-one tutor to every kid on Earth, which is an amazing idea, and hopefully the future we're moving towards. Okay, we're nearly at the hour. I've got a couple of things. Let's quickly look at this, just because I feel a bit bad for OpenAI. Because OpenAI have been out of the news for the last couple of weeks, which I'm sure is very upsetting for them. I think they'll be coming back next week, or in a week or two, with the 12 days of OpenAI, or the 12 days of Shipmas. But until then, it's been relatively quiet because Google and now Anthropic have dominated the news. They've introduced shopping research, which is a new experience in ChatGPT that does the research for you. Very smartly, they released this a few days before Black Friday. Good timing. It's everything you like about deep research, but with interactive interfaces to help you make smarter purchasing decisions. Now, I don't have it unlocked in my ChatGPT, annoyingly, so I can't do it live. But basically, it's deep research, but specifically for shopping. And I'm wondering what they point to. I wonder if they're getting affiliate kickback. This is all laying the groundwork for advertising. If you start getting people using ChatGPT or any AI as their shopping engine, where they compare deals, where they do research about what kind of chair they want to buy, for example. The next obvious step, once you have those eyeballs, is sponsored listings. So again, we are moving towards that reality where ads become part of AI. Nobody wants to blink and be the first one to do it. Everyone else is waiting for the other companies. For Google, I think they're going to have to do it eventually because they are currently cannibalizing their own revenues from search. Search advertising is 70% of their revenue, and they're going to need another way to make money. Doing it via AI subscriptions and API, nobody's proven they can make that amount of money using AI just as yet. And Google have $350 billion of revenue last year. It's about 70% from advertising. They need to replace that because Gen AI is a threat to it. Very likely they will be adding advertising into their AI, but I imagine they are waiting for OpenAI to do it so they can safely do it without getting the backlash, whereas OpenAI are waiting for Google to do it. So what we're seeing here, the kind of internal shopping, this is a nice safe way to start to insert advertising. You're not putting them into the general chat results, but instead into the shopping experience. If there is backlash, you can say, this is just in shopping and we want to make sure that you get the best recommendations, etc. It's very targeted at you, depending on your shopping behavior. They'll be able to worm their way out of this. Keep an eye on this. Almost certainly we'll see adverts in this next year. I think we'll see adverts in all AIs next year as well, because they need to make some money. They do need to make some money at some point. Awesome. So again, I just put together this starter guide. If you are interested in artificial intelligence but feeling a little bit overwhelmed, I feel you. It's a lot. So what I'd put together yesterday is a starter guide. It's at aiwithkyle.com/welcome. That is going to bring you to this page where there's a few things here. There's the levels of AI, so you can work out your current level of artificial intelligence knowledge, and it gives you resources for getting to the next level or working out where you want to get to. The Ultimate AI Learning Guide, which is a bunch of videos I think are really good, some courses, some books, the accounts that I think you should follow, people like Nate B. Jones, Ethan Mollick, Simon Willison, people where they give you a lot of signal versus a lot of noise. And then finally an interactive quiz, which is helping you work out what business you should be starting in the world of artificial intelligence. And this is based on your skills, how much money you have, how much time you have, what kind of industry you're in, etc., helping you navigate and come up with an idea for a business. So that is all available at aiwithkyle.com/welcome. There's also a huge amount of other stuff on the website, too much, if anything, about 100 different guides, playbooks, all of the latest newsletters, deep dive stories, a whole bunch of different tools and resources. Go and check it out. I'm still working on it, but it's a big project. Make sure you're subscribed over on YouTube. I am trying to get to 10,000 followers. I'm at 9,530, so we're pretty close. Probably will hit it in the next 2 weeks or so. So please make sure you subscribe there. Thank you guys. I will see you morning with more artificial intelligence news. Maybe a bit later. I'm going to the Radiohead concert tonight with Google in their special VIP box, which I'm very excited about. I'll post some videos about it. Thank you guys.